Okay, alright.
Hello and welcome back to the Make Lemonade podcast, a show brought to you by Lemon Squeezy as we hope to inspire you to make money from your own lemonade stand. I'm one of your co-hosts, James, and I'm joined as always by JR5, who's the co-founder and CEO of Lemon Squeezy. Today we have one of the most successful sellers on the Lemon Squeezy platform on the podcast. Adam, how do you say your last name?
Pietrasiak. It's not so easy in English.
And Adam is the founder of Screen Studio, a beautiful tool for creating and editing screen recordings that he started at the end of 2022 and now has thousands of paying users. Adam, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
I'm good. Happy to be here. Really excited. Thank you.
Well, we're excited to tell your story because you're someone that has not done many podcast interviews and you've been very successful with your product. I've seen lots of people sharing, using it, saying wonderful things. So I'm keen to know what led you to the success you've had since 2022. So a lot of people won't know your background. So can you tell me some of the things that you've done in the past, any failures up until this point, and then we'll get into Screen Studio.
Yeah, so I was kind of lucky because I really early started doing what I love. So my first website was made in 2004. And since then, I really love doing coding and design. So that was always something I loved doing. Then I was just, growing up, trying to do that. Then trying to first some contracts, then working in some software houses. Then I had one corporate job, but then I was pretty sure I don't want to do it, like to work in big companies and then working in startups. And I always had ambition to create something on my own and had quite a lot of failures. You don't always hear about that. Because sometimes I was working full time and trying to create my products, which easily adds up to like 12, 13 hours a day of work. So some failures before that. And indeed, Screen Studio is going well. But before that, I didn't really have like success. One app I made is going okay, but is not monetized. So First Studio is really the first one that's working.
Adam, I think it's almost a rite of passage for any successful indie founder or maker to have had these failures, to be battle hardened by all these times that you get knocked down and you take the learnings from that and build on top of those learnings and those failures. And you say you've been doing this since 2004. That's 20 years of sort of learning, iterating, getting better. Can you talk about some of the failed apps that you've made that didn't quite work out?
Yeah, I mean, I actually had a blog post on Medium, which is called, I think, How Working on Productivity App Ruined My Own Productivity. So maybe I will start with this, that I was pretty naive about, creating products before, like not really listening to feedback, not really thinking about, is it really like making sense? Is it really possible to make business out of that? Just being a dreamer. So I was having this vision of habits and task organizing app. I don't want to go too deep into details, but I was really like living about that for years really and having few iterations and really like failing, not listening to users. I think being in love with my own idea and just losing connection with reality. So that was first learning. Then, trying to apply to YC, few times with different products. Then like making decision to actually never work on my own startup and working full-time at once, because that was never ending well. Yeah, so pretty much quite a lot of iterating on smaller ideas, like wanted to make like a website where you look for a job, but it is similar to Instagram stories, where, some company owner posts a video and then you just reply in a video way, things like that, but not really gain traction.
JR, have you had any failures in the past that you look back on and go, wow, that was a powerful lesson for me to come out the other side of, and now you apply in all your future projects and things you work on?
Oh yeah, I think it's like a good way to just go about building a company in general, right? Is just you try not to be the smartest person in the room once you're there. It's, that quote, right? So it's okay to fail. I think that's the other thing, is like people strive for perfection. And so I think Adam's successful right now because he really wasn't afraid to kind of keep going. I think sometimes people get afraid after they fail, then they don't put that product out there or release that feature, whatever it is, right? Because they're so scared about what people might think. So I think there's a lot of like things beneath the failures that you need to learn. So yeah, absolutely. Like I think it's all connected.
And Adam, I don't know if you want to speak about this, but this wasn't in the notes. Your accent, you're not from an English-speaking country. I believe you're Polish. Is that right?
Yeah, that's true.
Have you lived in Poland all your life, and has that thrown up any challenges for you while you're trying to build your startups?
That's an interesting question. So I did live for some time in the US and also in Paris and in some other places. So, I would say I really like my country, especially after I was living in other places. That's interesting. I remember when I was trying to build my Twitter profile, or X now, and it was pretty hard. I was like posting for, I don't know, like a year and a half and having 100 followers. I was thinking then that it's easier when you live in the United States to do that, because more people in, let's say, space of entrepreneurship or indie hackers just live there in your local network. So they kind of help you gain initial traction. So I was a bit struggling with that. But besides that, maybe also sometimes I was feeling that it's harder to find like people with similar mindset. I think I'm mostly living in US anyway, like, following like people from there, listening to podcasts and following the stories, like following who is, getting grants from YC or other funds. So I would say in this world where you can really live remotely, I think I get used to kind of living in a different place a bit. It's not that it's frustrating, but maybe naturally it attracts me to like magnet to different places where I feel more like similar energy, let's say.
Yeah, without a doubt. There's definitely been an acceleration over the last couple of years of being able to work anywhere and work effectively anywhere. JR, for the longest time, hadn't met his co-founders, and we've spoken about that on the podcast. The fact you can start a business the size of Lemon Squeezy without meeting your co-founders is absolutely absurd. And for you, as someone who lives in a country that might not necessarily be associated with building really successful tech companies, you can go and build a great indie product for yourself to make a better life for yourself and your employees and people that you work with.
So Adam, hey, let's shift gears. So we want to understand the founding story of Screen Studio. Where did the idea come from? What sparked it? From what we could see, there was an idea sparked by Stripe's well-produced screen recordings. Is that what it was?
Yeah, so I think I tend to quite often look for problems, like, with different things, how to solve them, like trying to look for it everywhere. And before working on Screen Studio, I was working in another startup, and we had our landing page video, just presenting the app. And we wanted to make it funky and look good. So we outsourced it to some video editors, and it was like good, let's say, some UI elements animating. But then as a startup, we were iterating super quickly, and our user interface was looking very different after 2 months. So that was frustrating. And I remember even trying to, I think it was After Effects, to open the project and try to modify it, but it was messy and I'm not like professional at that. So there I clearly seen the problem, like, that so many people want to showcase their application with video. And then I remember checking Stripe profile, which I also really like their design. And then I noticed those videos they make with, like, zooming in and showing some details about some interactions, about some feature. And then I had this thought, like, how much of that could you automate without sacrificing too much of quality and expressiveness? And then I thought, like, I would say you can automate it quite a lot. So then I created proof of concept, with like duct tape technology, like trying to record mouse position, trying to pick where user clicks, what's the best way to guess what part of video is important, how to show that. And I was super happy about the initial results. And also then, which might be important later, I started to build this habit of posting my progress daily on Twitter. and it had like 0, 1 or 2 likes. But I was enjoying it myself because it also was showing me what's the progress since last week or 2 weeks ago. So that was the founding story, how I found the problem, how I thought that it might be actually useful. But then I didn't know. You never really know if that will have market fit or if it will really work. I just felt it could be something, but you never know that for sure.
I'm wondering how you took learnings from your previous failures to make sure this was going to be successful. Or did you not think it was or did you not know if it was going to be, it was just you shipping and building something that you thought could be interesting?
Okay, so people try to create this process of creating product, try to research your market, try to find similar tools, analyze user needs, perform user interviews. I know all of that. I would say I started by buying domain because that's how I always start, even though people say that should be the last thing. And then I did not really research the market well. I didn't know if other tools like that exist. I was not doing bunch of user interviews. I did talk to some friends. So some learnings, yes. I think I had more, let's say, experience about after the failures, but my process was still far from perfect, book-like process that you could find when describing how you should organize the process of creating a product.
Adam, did you have a background with building Mac software, like Mac applications, or is this one of your first ones?
Yes, and that was very useful. So before that, we did work at, the startup was called Acapella, and that was aggregator of notifications from different tools that was actually hacking your computer a bit to suck it all into one place in one format, from your email, from your messages. And we did build Electron app, which is what I use. And in the end, when the startup failed, we open sourced that. And as an engineer, I really like to create technologies that are very easy to reuse in different places. So a lot of core technologies, like very generic, like some, I don't want to go into technical details, but like Windows management and many of those things, I had some code from there and also a lot of learnings from there. So that was very useful. And I really wanted to make it native app, like desktop app with native feel. And also, if you made that web app, you don't have access to high quality recording. So that would be a deal breaker.
On the domain thing, we're team buying domains if it makes sense to, and if it's not too expensive. But if you are going to buy an expensive domain, it can make a project worthwhile if you have researched it. JR famously spent a large amount of money on a 4-letter domain. You can listen back to the episode with Adam Francis to hear all about that. So you're one of us if you're buying domains before you start your product, Adam. And the market you chose is interesting because it seems like this is already covered, right? You've got QuickTime, you've got Loom. This is like your screen recording. The scripts are now doing it. You can record and edit. But it seems like you took an approach to this product, which was doing the little things really well. It's people that wanted to create screen recordings that were beautiful and automate some of the stuff that they didn't necessarily want to have to manually keyframe. So did you know there was enough of a market that could pull people away from using VC-backed competitors like Loom or QuickTime that was already installed on their Mac?
Yeah, I mean, I know all the apps you mentioned, so I know like there's this, it's crowded in a way about this video creation, but I think maybe also some learning. So before Screen Studio, I had sometimes more grand visions about like changing the world. Maybe that's too big. And with that, I was okay solving smaller problems. And what was my kind of philosophy around that was, you have an app that can do everything Screen Studio does, let's say After Effects or some other serious video editing app. So that you can easily create a video like Screen Studio creates. But can you take a small chunk of that, like just one kind of video, and remove like 95% of UI? And sometimes I want to listen to some music on Spotify, and I never search for a type of music, let's say jazz or something. I just write a mood, let's say afternoon relaxing music or something like that. And because that's what I need. And maybe that's not related directly to videos and product creation, but I believe you can actually take a huge app people spend 10 years making, take one small use case and perfect it, and maybe sometimes even sell it for more than they do, because like you just remove learning curve from that. So maybe there were different apps, indeed, but I did not find something that effectively allows you to quickly create catchy and engaging videos.
I love this so much. This is you did a really good job with this. It's like the same story with Lemon Squeezy. It's like you could have said like there was a million ways to get payments, but like the way we wanted to do it was different. And so I think that Screen Studio is definitely, I think there's other things, Adam, that you did well, which was like your attention to detail within the app itself and the things that it does it's really good. And you can see that in the product. And I think people just appreciate that. They might not be asking for that, but they want it, they expect it, and you delivered on that.
Yeah, that's very true. So, some context behind that is I would call myself an artist. Like I just simply love the craft of doing that. And I remember sometimes when I was working with teams, that was creating some friction, because let's say I was polishing some button for 4 hours, and that was in a way not adding to value. I heard this quote saying that top apps have beautiful interfaces because top companies hire the best people, and the best people love creating beautiful interfaces. That's the end of the quote. So what I mean by that is it drives me. Like if I don't do that, I would lose motivation for doing that. And I think when you gain experience as an engineer, even working for someone else, you might gain confidence and actually realize I have to create beautiful buttons to be motivated, to actually have full energy to work for someone with my full power. And then I polish that for some hours, but then for the rest of the week, I'm actually productive doing other things. I know that might be controversial, but maybe with time and more experience and seeing more value in me as an engineer and as a designer, I started to realize I can adjust reality a bit to myself and maybe push a bit with my work style, and that will be actually a win-win for everyone. Mm-hmm. So I understand it's not so important for other amazing engineers to polish interfaces so well, but that's just what I love, and I always did, and it's just, I'm just proud, Sometimes when I finish working on some feature and I release that and I go to bed, and let's say I made some video out of that, I still watch it like 10 times because I'm just happy about how it looks and feels.
Yeah, no, I completely resonate. At Lemon Squeezy, we call it craftsmanship. We use that word a lot. But yeah, you're describing the same concept. And I think I was tweeting about this the other day, that I think we're moving into a world where with AI, you can essentially build anything now. And so like this is becoming a big differentiator, For sure. And you can see it across Lemon Squeezy and you can see it across Screen Studio. Your attention to detail, the interface is really nice. And it makes it look like it's built by a team that is far bigger and has far more resource to be able to create something that looks good. It does. I genuinely think that, and that has helped your success. So are you designing the product as well, Adam? Or do you have people with you?
I was also designing it. So at some point, but it was way after releasing it, there was some designer, I don't remember his name. So he kind of make a redesign in Figma, and some parts inspired me, but in terms of design and actually like a vast majority how it looks and feels was designed by me. And what I would say, and maybe that's fortunate for me as an engineer and designer, is that I rarely use external tools like Figma or Framer to do design. Sometimes when I really have like bigger idea and I want to collect thoughts and maybe create some low fidelity just to have idea how something should work, if it's complex especially. But in general, like 90% of UI was designed that I was just coding and seeing how it feels and how it looks. Yeah.
I love this. That's so cool. It's definitely, you're like a superhuman indie maker when you can have that level of design while coding. So fair play to you. Adam, we've not actually got on to the launch of the product. Now, I read on Hacker News, correct me if I'm wrong, that you made $30,000 in your first month. Now, you don't share numbers anymore, but that number's out there. Is that true? $30,000 in the first month?
I think it can be true. I was not checking it recently, but that was stunning launch. Actually, when you sent me some things you will talk about, and that made me recall what happened. That was so crazy. Like, I couldn't sleep at night and couldn't believe it, checking every new customer, who is that person. So yeah, that was a storm.
How does one make $30,000 in their first month of launching their product? You must have done a lot of work in the run up to that, or got really lucky.
It's hard to say. I don't fully understand that. And I think there was some luck for sure. But also, I think I was in position to take advantage of that. That's maybe like a very buzzword, about being lucky. But I was thinking about that, how that happened. I maybe will tell you about the very first sale. So I was with two of my best friends who actually now work together at Screen Studio with me. So we were in different country, and then out of nothing, I had first sale, and I was shocked by that and that's related to Lemon Squeezy, because the product was not ready. You were not able to download it yet. But I wanted to test payments flow, and I was like, maybe another learning was I gave up with perfectionism a bit with some parts, and I wanted to test if it works. So I just put the button on the website, on production website, and I put a banner on top that the product is not ready yet, just to avoid confusing someone. I was a bit tired of this mindset that I will show something when it's fully ready. And maybe I think it's something that people can resonate with. I was not hiding that it's not ready. I did put huge square in the place of actual landing page video and said the video will be here soon. Not being like those polished, perfectly finished, polished products that have every piece of landing, every piece of app, like absolutely amazing. And then I think there was some part around that, because the first person who purchased it said that he just liked the idea and wanted to support me. And also, as I said before, I was tweeting daily, and it was really having close to zero traction. And then one tweet really started to viral. So that was huge. That was very different. And I don't know what exactly happened. Maybe that was just like the product was catchy and people liked it. That was this pretty much the first Screen Studio style video. I got from 170 followers on Twitter to like 2,000 in few days. And I think Screen Studio kind of launched itself. Not really that I choose a date. It was there. And people started to ask for that. And I remember I was in different countries, so I could do nothing about that, even though there were 3 sales in this day when this tweet got viral. And I remember when I got back, super excited, like extremely. I did sit on computer to start working on that and preparing it to release. And I started in early morning, and then you had 4 p.m. And I wanted to scratch my ass. And then I realized it was the first move I made on my chair in that day. I was so focused, and so pumped, so excited. And then it went from there. So I would really honestly say I don't fully understand what was all dynamics happening there.
Your first point on you shipping things and getting things out there is sort of against what we previously said about the craftsmanship and making things really beautiful. But there is a balance to strike. You've been doing this for years, Adam. You've learned about when you should launch things and the things that you need to ship to get the ball rolling versus making sure the product works in the areas that it needs to. JR, do you also see this with Lemon Squeezy? Like holding back the things that might not be ready, but also at the same time shipping consistently, getting stuff out there, having your landing page ready?
Yeah, and I think there's like different phases to it. I think early on we were probably a little bit more open, and then as we get bigger features, we might have to hold some of those back, but then we're still sharing some other things. Adam, ironically, I think the thing that you shared that kind of like got Screen Studio to like launch itself wasn't it a demo of the product itself that wasn't ready?
Yeah, so I remember the video I posted and that got viral was, I was making it with Screen Studio that was not ready. I actually had to use console to export videos. So yeah, and I was pasting those videos. So that was the video, the demo from Screen Studio, but you really couldn't create video like that. You couldn't download the app. It was not ready. Yeah, not sure that's what you mean.
And so, Adam, how'd you go from this first sale, the viral tweet, to like making $30,000 in a month? Was it just sort of keeping on building? You had this momentum, you were focused, you're like, right, I've got to ship the product because people are buying it. And I've now got 2,000 Twitter followers. I'm going to keep tweeting. Were all your sales coming from Twitter, or was it a product hunt launch?
I would say to this day, like vast majority of traffic is that people tell about that to each other or in some direct way discover that product. Like if I check Search Console for organic keywords, let's say, product demo recorder, we are not there. So usually it's direct traffic or some referrals from other websites or some people searching for Screen Studio in Google. And I will go in a moment to your main question, but I was worried a bit about that at first. But then some people told me that it might be a good sign because it says that people are recommending the tool to each other. So yeah, I think after this first viral tweet, I released it in some form, I think around a week later. And then I think I noticed something unexpected, and I was not planning it, that creates this loop of marketing. So someone posts a video somewhere, creating a demo of whatever, like update to their app, and someone asks, how did you make that video? And then they mention Screen Studio, and then they create that. So that was like some sort of indirect viral marketing, let's say. So I think Screen Studio has some specific style, and then you see it once, and you might think that was made by some professional editors, and then you see it second and third time and start to see, hey, maybe there's some app for that. So I think lucky part is that people tend to publish Screen Studio videos in places where you can comment. And those comments are clearly visible. Twitter is like that. And LinkedIn is like that. So I think that's the basis of that. But again, that was not really planned. That was not really that I had this strategy in mind when releasing. So you could call it lucky. Also, like I would not credit myself for figuring it out beforehand. So that was in a way a surprise to me.
But what you did with that luck, with people organically recommending your product and really liking the outcome, is turning these into affiliates. Now, we've spoken about how we launched the affiliate feature on Lemon Squeezy. Adam, you've shared some of the numbers from your affiliate program that you've implemented for Screen Studio. Back in March, you made over $17,000 with over 50,000 clicks from affiliates. This was a few months ago now as well. You've had some incredibly strong recommendations. Thomas Frank, who we've had on the podcast, some other YouTubers making these really nice videos saying this is the best Mac app you'll ever use with an affiliate link. So you capitalized on this. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you decided to capitalize on this sharing of your product with affiliates?
Fun thing in the beginning, when I first got like DM from Thomas Frank, it was some time ago. It was this exciting feeling that those are real people. You can like talk with them, because I was watching him on YouTube for a long time, and he has like 2 million subscribers. So that unlocked so many things. Like, that's so amazing. Like that you can participate in that. But now on affiliate program, I think it was pretty natural to go in that direction, because as I said before, people are commenting and asking, how did you make that video? And then some people are directly recommending our app. I feel it perfectly fits creating affiliate program, because that's just, people do it anyways. And then why not to do that with some link where you can take part of the revenue? So I feel that's one part. So that's naturally fit in this flow of how did you make it? Here's the link. And another part, which is of course like subjective, I really believe that's that's a good product. That's the value is there. I believe we have very good conversion rate on our website. Like, I feel you quickly see the value of that. It's sometimes you have great product, but it's harder to show the value, to convince people that the value is there. I believe with Screen Studio, if you need something like that, you produce videos, you instantly feel it. So I also believe that it fits nicely with affiliates. So there are some YouTube videos, and they also have very good conversion rate. With I don't know what are like common statistics there, but I think Andy, our best affiliate, has, I might be wrong, around 2% conversion rate, which I find very good. I'm not sure what you think about that, but random people are watching something on YouTube, and I think it's pretty good. I'm not sure, but I think it is.
That's pretty impressive. JR, do you have any thoughts on how Adam is using the affiliates feature on Lemon Squeezy and exemplifying how an affiliate program should be run?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he's right. I mean, I see it a lot. Like, someone will come in and see, how did you record that? And then it's, I did it through this, and then here's a link. And so I've watched that unfold probably 20 times on Twitter, and I think that, to his point, it's the 2%, I think, can be a little misleading, actually. I think if he ran a targeted campaign with an affiliate and then they sent traffic, I think his site converts better. But I do think that an overall affiliate program, like he said, with all these people watching all these things and all these links, that's pretty good for like a global conversion rate on an affiliate program.
How did you start to get people on board with the program, Adam, from those that were like naturally recommended?
I actually remember nudging JR and Lemon Squeezy team several times when they will release that. And why was that? Because people were asking about that. Or in this loop, some people, some apps, some products are really often posting videos created with Screen Studio, like sometimes a few times a week with some updates or whatever. So that loop happens quite often, and some people were starting to make jokes. I think I already sold you like 10 people or something like that, and we didn't have affiliate program then. So some people were really asking, like, do you have that? Because I also can imagine if someone was doing it, let's say 5 times, it could be a bit frustrating because they had clear idea that they're converting people for us and not having money from out of that. So I would say that was some people like naturally participating in that process, in that loop, feeling that would be great to take a chunk of that. That was like obvious. So I know, like, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were waiting for that. And then when we started, we just announced that. And that was like initial hit. And I know many people were waiting for that. And we also have a link on our website that there is affiliate program. We have a video on YouTube explaining that. And I think besides that, like for a few times, I was repeating that and saying it again. We have that program on Twitter. And I think the biggest wave of new people were after I did share those stats that we have. I think after that, that's like very concrete. You can imagine that. And also that maybe it was showing that Screen Studio is actually a good product to invest your time when you want to be affiliate for that.
Well, Adam, congrats on all your success with Screen Studio. It's been impressive to see and to get inside of your brain on how you approach your product and your marketing and some of the growth drivers. JR, I think you got some questions from Twitter.
I do actually. So Adam, I posted just that me and James were getting on to record. And so I have some questions I'm going to ask. Adam, we'll kind of rapid fire these, okay? So we had one about, someone was asking about the design process, what it's like to build a desktop app. You talked about this, how you just get in and code and design all together, but this is a Mac app. So do you just have a concept in your head and then you go in there and just do it right there in the code always? Or if it's a bigger feature, do you get Figma going at all?
The only feature I actually designed in Figma was this new recording picker. and like this window picker. So that was the only case. But in general, the concept is in my mind, and I just code it and figure it out. But like besides that, I'm very actively checking all the UI trends. I just enjoy it, just looking. I follow many designers on Twitter, and I check Dribble. And then I really love macOS and in general Apple design systems. I believe it has really high quality and really good detail. So I would say also Squeezy is made using Electron, which is based on web technologies. So it's easy to have this mindset of creating a website, even though it's a desktop app, and to make it feel like a website. So you have to, I believe, escape this mindset and try to think more as an app developer, not a website developer. So be like open to create multi-windows, to use native system effects, blur that you have on macOS. I use native font, San Francisco, so it feels native. And I was really kind of obsessed with making it feel native. You have those rounded corners, which in web technologies you just making one line of code, but Apple actually is doing it differently, using quite advanced math to make them really smooth. So all the buttons in Screen Studio are made this way. We use custom curves to achieve that. So I would say what's actually important in this process is all the architecture of the code. If it's not easy to iterate quickly and to experiment quickly, then it's way harder to move things around, to see how it feels. And in many ways, I would say iteration time is as quick, maybe not like exactly the same as if you would do that in Figma. So all the components, all the buttons, all checkboxes, select components, drop downs are there and really easy to use in code. So it's actually easy to experiment with that, and it feels close to designing in a different tool. That therefore clearly designing. Yeah.
So I got a few more. So we'll go through like 4 or 5 questions here. You're VC funded or bootstrapped?
I'm bootstrapped.
Why? Like, I'm sure you've been approached by VCs, so you're staying bootstrapped?
That's also a very good question. So, as I said before, I was working for startups for a long time, many years. So I would say I have some good idea how this world looks like. And for a very long time, that was kind of my dream to get funding and create some product and be backed up. I was, as I said, applying to Y Combinator many times. Ironically, I got like invitation for the next phase just after Spin Studio started to gain traction, but I was applying with different product just to see how it will go, and I had to reject that. So that's quite ironic. But I would say I have quite specific way of working, and also I think my mind is a bit specific in some ways. I tend to close, I call it, in a cave and work for a week and really kind of ignore the world, which has a lot of downsides. So, and I know how many things you have to manage when you have funding, and also there is some freedom taken away. I know it's just my take on that, but I would say in many ways you start to work as a CEO in your own company. You don't have this kind of freedom, and you have to explain many things. Or if you change direction of your business, you have to explain to people who might have different incentives than you. For example, my incentive quite often is that I love doing that I love crafting. Of course, I'm super happy, and I will not lie on that. I'm super happy it's successful, and that's amazing. But I also enjoy the process, and there could be some pressure or some friction when you have people with different incentives. So I'm super happy that's possible with cash flow, that we can bootstrap. But that's a very conscious decision as for now. I never say never. Of course, I'm not like closing that door. And indeed, we had several people asking about that.
Yeah, we have similar thoughts there, because you never say never, right? But I'm assuming you get approached all the time. I have one, James, I've got one last question that I want to ask that's going to kind of tie all this to back. So when Adam took off, I remember, he was obviously on Lemon Squeezy, and we would chat, we would DM on Twitter. Adam, I don't know if you remember this early on. And I came to you and I said, hey, whenever you're ready, let's talk about pricing. And Adam would kind of do his cave thing where he would leave for like 2 weeks and then he'd come back and I'd be like, hey, when do you want to talk about pricing? Because you're charging one time and we should look at recurring. And then and I think Adam had a lot of good thoughts as why he didn't. And so this is one of John's questions is, are you happy with the one time versus recurring? I know, Adam, me and you have gone back and forth a lot on this. And so this can just be like a conversation just to end, but just where does that currently sit? There's pros and cons to one time and recurring. I was trying to make the argument about, now here you are 2022, it's 2024, you're 2 years in, you'd have a big heap of renewals coming in. So is that coming?
Yeah, actually, when you were asking this question, I think the first time to publicly say about that. So we are considering switching to subscriptions. We actually are working on that. I'm still not confident about that, even though we had a lot of time spent on that already, because that makes many things more complicated. And maybe one part of that is it works the way it is. So of course there's a factor of being scared about that. But we will try that. I'm pretty sure about that, even though I have doubts still on that. And I also like something about one-time purchase, that you just give a software, even though it's 1 year of updates.
I think one thing I'll just say is I think you have a lot of raving fans. I think you have people that want to see you, succeed. And I think for like sustainability, right? There is something to be said for, hey, I have a team to support. We've got other areas. This is just a Mac app, but we could make it this app, or we could do this to it, or it could evolve into this. It opens up the door for all that stuff for sustainability within the business. And so I think that,
That's very true. And as I said, we'll very likely at least try to do that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There is some maybe deeper tone on that, a bit philosophical even. You always have some more money on the table. You always have this somewhere. And I can absolutely agree that subscription model in terms of business is almost always better. Like you have sustainable cash income. That's great. But then I'm super happy with things as they are now. I don't believe things would change fundamentally for me as a human being when it grows way more. I'm super happy about right now there are 25,000 followers on Twitter, which in case I want to do something, let's say even write a book, whatever, it puts me in an amazing position to start that. It's so exciting. So I understand those arguments that it makes business sustainable long term, and many other things. Maybe I am quite happy about that. It's just in the place I am, I really enjoy it. And that could make sense. We'll likely try it. Let's see how it goes. But I don't have this mindset now. I had it. And I'm pretty happy about that. I call it shark mindset, that you just want to conquer more and more. And I appreciate that. And I'm super impressed by people capable of doing that, because we have smartphones because of that. And so I appreciate that a lot. But sometimes I ask this question, is it that I really need that? And maybe that also sometimes I said it to investors when I had this call, as we were talking before about bootstrapping. And you can imagine how their face changes when they hear that.
Yeah.
I feel like that you sound like a person, Adam, who has put a lot of thought into the reasons you do the things you do, the reasons you have created the products and built it the way you have, and the pricing decisions that you have chosen. I feel like there's a lot of thought gone into it, and you're building the business that you want to run. And that's great. That is the beauty of bootstrapping. We speak to people who want to go bigger, who have that sharp mindset. But for you, you're building something that works for you, your employees, to make a really good product for your customers. And it sounds great.
That's true. That's true. I think about those things and I'm really happy that it's possible now, because that's not far from being obvious.
So JR, let our boy Adam be. Let him charge us.
All right, fair enough. I'll step back. Yeah, we can close it out. Adam, it's been great to have you on today.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.